Texas Congressman Keith Self, who says he cannot support the measure in its current form. Then we'll hear from Texas Congressman Nathaniel Moran, who supports the bill, and he will explain why. Later, FRC's Travis Weber and Kana Gonzalez will walk us through the significant changes made in the Senate and why those changes raise concerns. In other news, earlier this week, the U.S. Supreme Court directed lower courts in 3 circuits to revisit rulings on transgender issues. Now, that comes following the court's landmark decision upholding Tennessee's SB 1, which protects minors from experimental transgender procedures. We're going to talk with Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador about what this could mean for the state of Idaho and other states. So all of that and possibly a bit more on this edition of Washington Watch. All right, as I mentioned, the House Speaker is locked in negotiations as we speak over a way forward on the Senate amended reconciliation bill. The House has been at a standstill for the past several hours. Here now to discuss this, Congressman Keith Self. He is a member of the House Freedom Caucus and the Doge Caucus. He represents the 3rd Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Self, welcome back to Washington Watch. Thanks for joining us.
Great to be here, Tony. Thank you.
So the House Freedom Caucus has been meeting, I think, almost nonstop. I've had conversations with several members over the last 24 hours. Give us your concerns, your perspective of the current bill as it now sits.
Well, thank you, Tony. First of all, we want to support President Trump's agenda. There are some tax cuts in this bill that are wonderful, and most of what you will hear from anyone else will be about the tax cuts. What you won't hear is what's on the spending cut bill. Now, from my perspective, there are multiple reasons that this bill is morally bankrupt. It does not defund transgender surgery for minors. That is a moral issue. It only cuts funding for abortion services for 1 year, not the 10 in the House bill. That's morally bankrupt. Then there are other issues, paying for illegal aliens on Medicaid. And yes, it supposedly was taken out of the bill, but there's no teeth in it. So in effect, will it be in effect? There are others, but I'll stop there. That's my initial analysis. You're going to hear a lot about the tax cuts, but the deficit, nobody's talking about the deficit. Nobody. I got it. The tax cuts are important. We are going to get the tax cuts done in some fashion. But we cannot saddle our children and our grandchildren with an exploding national debt.
You know, I'm going to try to be objective here on this because I share some of the concerns you just put out there. And I've been articulating those. And for those who track look, we are very clear on how we do this. We are bringing news from a biblical perspective, and I have opinions, and I share those opinions. I'm very concerned about the fact that we're going to continue to give money to Planned Parenthood, a 1-year moratorium, all right? But it reminds me of this. I don't want to get too far off in that. I want to give you the time to talk here. It reminds me of Bill Clinton back in his 1992 campaign. It's the economy, stupid. It's not the economy. It is the moral foundation of a nation that matters.
Absolutely, Tony. Absolutely. Well said. And frankly, we tend to hear stories about us moving back to a moral foundation. This bill does not do that.
Okay, let me ask you this question, because this is a question that, or a statement that's often made in this process. So how do you respond to this is the best we can do?
Well, I reject that. And when they say this is the last chance we have, in politics, that is never true. You served in this body. That is never true. There is always another option. We need to continue to find other options. I have no idea what will happen if we take a vote on the rule later today, but we must find another option because the Senate passed this bill and left town. Folks, this process is still going on. We have settled nothing here. I recommend that the president go get the senators, bring them back now, get them back so that we can settle this between the House and the Senate.
Well, I've been around long enough to know that play in the playbook is to jam the House by leaving town so that it appears that the House has no option but to take what the Senate sent over.
Right. That's absolutely right. That is the playbook, and we're seeing it play out right now.
So Congressman Self, let me ask you this question, because I think when we raise objections, we should present ways forward. We should be problem solvers. And so let me ask you, how is the Freedom Caucus, and I know that there's varying views in the Freedom Caucus, but that's probably the strongest element of the holdout right now is in the Freedom Caucus. What are some of the proposals being made to move this forward?
Well, I think that we ought to go back into the Rules Committee with a very few issues that poll very well with the American people. The transgender surgery is a winning issue. The Green New Scam elimination is a winning issue. A recent poll proved that. And then the illegals on Medicaid, some teeth in that prohibition. Those are three issues that are winning issues with the American people. Those are three that I think if we went back into the Rules Committee, put them in, and then decide how they're going to move forward, those are winning issues.
Let me kind of pull back the curtain and let people kind of understand the pressures here that come to play when you're having to make a decision. There's tremendous pressure to conform. And when the Republicans rally around something, it's like everybody's got to get in line. But the process only gets better the more conversations we have. And I know there comes a point where you have to vote, but when you consider the significant amendments made in the Senate, I think it's only right that the House have an opportunity to address those.
Well, absolutely. Plus, remember, Andy Harris in your lead-in said $750 billion were added. Look, folks, the best the House bill would have done if we'd gotten everything was to keep the $2 trillion a year we're going into debt every year to add up to $37 trillion now. If we were going to add, and when you count in interest, over $1 trillion more dollars that over the next 10 years, we're just exploding the debt. We're living a party while our grandchildren will be paying the bill.
So let's talk about this July 4th deadline that was kind of a self-imposed, and I believe in setting deadlines because things don't get done. But that's not a hard and fast deadline.
No, it's not. And frankly, both the president and the speaker have cracked the door on that, Tony. So I think that deadline, whether or not we meet it, I don't think that is a major issue anymore, because both the president and the speaker in the past, the recent past, have suggested that, yes, we may go past it.
Now, another frequent guest on our program, Congressman Tim Burchett of Tennessee, posted on X that he was in a 2-hour meeting with other conservative Republicans at the White House with the president, and he said it was very productive. What are your colleagues saying? Are they getting closer, or are we still just kind of having these initial conversations?
I really do not know and cannot comment on that, Tony. I will wait until the attendees at the White House meeting tell us more.
So what ideal outcome for you? What would it look like?
Ideal outcome is that we do exactly as I said. We go to the Rules Committee now, do not have a vote on the rules, on the rule today. Go back to the Rules Committee with these very popular amendments. Go back to the Rules Committee, put them in, vote on them, send it back to the Senate. Look, the Senate doesn't think we're serious. You know the playbook. When they vote a bill, send it over to us and leave town, they don't think we're serious. Are we going to continue to buy into the Senate playbook? That's the simple question.
Right now, do you think the rule passes tonight?
I don't know, depending on what's going on the meetings right now. I don't know.
It doesn't take but just a handful to keep that rule from passing. And just so folks understand, I know we're getting kind of into the procedural weeds, but I would say just from a rough perspective, where the Senate has their procedural votes where they've got to start debate, there is a rule vote in the House that allows debate on the bill to begin. It kind of sets the parameter for the debate. It historically has been a just really insignificant, symbolic move. But in this Congress, and actually in the last Congress as well,
Right.
it's become a way to send a message that the bill's not ready for prime time just yet. And that's what I'm hearing from some of your other colleagues.
I think that's exactly right. And frankly, they say that you're not supposed to vote against your own party on the rule. But more than 80 people in the 118th Congress voted against a rule at some point or another. So that you're exactly right. It's become a tool to signal to the leadership, this is not PTP, as Dick Vitale would say, prime time ready.
I will say this in defense of the Speaker. The Speaker has been, I think, has run a more transparent process than any Speaker in modern time. But it is a lot to juggle the different views, and especially the factions within the Republican Party. But that said, Congressman Keith Self, I again want to commend the House Freedom Caucus for standing firm in the face of tremendous pressure from the president and others just to go along. Because I think, as you said at the beginning, we're not against the president, not against his bill, not against his agenda,
Right.
just want him to succeed and make it better.
Absolutely. And we have personal commitments from the Speaker, who is a very honorable man, and we're looking to him to simply meet those commitments that he made to us.
All right, Congressman Keith Self, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Tony.